Okay, we have 6:30. We'll call the meeting to order. We could start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, are there any additions or changes to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Excuse me. Now we'll open up to public comments. If there's anyone who would like to discuss anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward. And seeing none, we'll close public comments. And we'll move to the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be pulled for further discussion?
I just have a correction on the claims. So on page 6, for check number 22813, that's actually $75. It's not supposed to be $75,300. So that was an error.
That's correct on here, right?
Yeah.
And were you able to find out about the auditing, the $13,000 that we've been billed for, where it reflects $24,000 on the audit? Is that just half the billing? Or?
Yep, it's just they stagger the billing. So they will be doing a presentation at our next meeting, and we will get billed after that.
And then the 5E, the auditor fee for 2019, and that was a miss from last year. Was that just a one-off miss? Is there something we need to put in some sort of corrective action?
Nope. I talked to the city attorney, and he just said to do retroactive approval. It is, the annual audit is something that we approve every year, and we do budget for. So.
All right. Any other comments on the consent? Now I'll look for motion to or to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. That will take us, Maggie, to 6-1A, the fire station timeline.
Okay, so as you know, at the January 27th, 2020 council meeting workshop, the fire station committee and the Mayor Fire Department presented information regarding the need for a new fire station building. At that meeting, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of questions asked, and so the committee did meet on February 5th to review and discuss the questions asked of them and to provide some responses to those questions here tonight. So in your packet there are there's a lot of answers that to the questions that came up, and then kind of a further discussion on a proposed timeline if the fire station were to move ahead. The process of moving ahead with the fire station would happen this year. So I think it's more so to provide just some additional information and guidance to the committee.
So what are we looking for? We're looking to approve this timeline, is that, or is this just an FYI? Is this what?
I think one, it's to discuss or to provide the answers that were asked of the committee and fire department at the last meeting. Also to have a discussion on this timeline and to determine if this seems like an appropriate timeline, or if we need to have more discussion on the questions, or if there are further questions, and then if we need to, if there's any questions on the timeline as well.
Right. Are you representing the committee during this, or do we have a representative who's speaking from it?
I am on the committee. I did kind of say I would present the information in this packet, but the committee members are here as well to answer any questions.
All right, do you want to start with some of the questions? Do you want to go over, what do you have prepared, Maggie?
Yeah, I can go over some questions. I think there were some questions about the number of calls of service per year for the last 5 years, and then the average response time. So that is on page 13 of the packet, the number of calls and the average response time. There was a question as to if the news station would improve response time, and the committee found that it would be difficult to estimate and determine if the news station would decrease response time because it's due, like the calls depend on how far the like distance is from the station. We do service the fire district as well, so it really depends on where we're responding to. And then infrastructure, there was a question on if there could be a decrease in the footprint or change kind of the shape. And it was discussed that, keeping a rectangular shape of the building is key because the more you alter and change the shape outside of a rectangle, it does increase cost because you're creating more wall surface area at times. So it is just doing like this, the rectangle is more cost efficient. There was a question about the fire tower, if that's needed, or if there could be a drying rack for the hoses. There was a lot of discussion on how the fire tower serves many functions, such as access point to the roof for maintenance, mezzanine storage, training. It does dry the hoses, and it also serves as the highest point for exhaust evacuation. So replacing the tower with a hose rack dryer would require more square footage space on the floor level, thus increasing the square footage of the building. There are 3 proposed office spaces that are meant to meet current needs as well as future needs of the fire station. There was some discussion about working with Ridgeview Medical to have a EMS crew there with a ambulance. The current station doesn't allow for this, but Ridgeview is highly interested in the space if the building was to be constructed, but they would not help with assistance and funding for that space. With technology and equipment, a lot of what is in the current station that's in good working order could be transferred and would be transferred to the new station. And then there would be, of course, some new equipment needed, and the fire department would look to fundraisers for some of that equipment, and then there also is some money in the contingencies and equipment section as well to cover some of those costs. The station, there was discussion about allowing it for public use, and since it's a public safety building and not a community building, there was concern if there was a fire to come in or a fire call to come in while it was being used by the public, if there would be some issues there. Page 14, there's a current capital investments plan. This is preliminary. We review this every year, and we're in the process of reviewing it to update it, but that just gives you an idea of where our current long-term capital plan is for the fire department. And then in 2020, just for all city buildings, including the fire department, or all city departments, we're going to look at a software program that keeps track of current assets and inventory, and that would allow the city to better monitor and track maintenance and replacement schedule, and the replacement schedule of items. And then marketing and information strategy, there was a lot of discussion on having the committee make sure that there's a clear message and with good facts and clear statements. And the fire station committee is planning on holding open houses with residents to discuss the project in depth. There's plans to have displays of information and representatives of the committee and staff present to answer questions about the project. And there will be a focus on the history of the city of Mare, the growth of the community, the new needs, and the evolution of the fire service. And then, in the meantime, the fire station committee and the fire department, they're working collaboratively to continue to ensure measures are being taken currently to remedy current safety concerns at the current fire station. So that's kind of a summary of some of the questions that were asked. I don't know. I could have missed a few things. If anything comes up, please let me know. That's just kind of an overview of some of the information that was missing at the last meeting.
All right. Any other questions for Maggie or for the committee?
What was the timeline that they were saying is the best time to go out for bid for the best prices?
I believe the timeline that you guys were given is his kind of best case scenario of timeline to fit into when he talked about the timeline for bidding and when it's a good time to do that and when it's a good time to get in before some price increases and stuff like that. So the timeline that we have presented there is the opportune timeline.
Okay. We just talked a lot of dates, so I apologize. I don't remember what that timeline was. That was
You
the.
gave them the timeline.
Yep,
You guys
yep,
have
it's
that
in the-
packet, so.
I just wanted to confirm this was the ideal timeline that would probably offer us the best chance of getting the best price.
Yes, because pushing it off further, what he kind of explained then is you got into where then you start, if you would then approve it at that point, would get you into a bidding time like next summer, or for doing work next summer, which there's a lot of work being done at that time. So people are not as opportune to put a great price on it because maybe they already have current work or and stuff like that. Where during that winter timeline is when what he sees is usually the best outcome on stuff like that.
Because, for one thing, schools, that's their main times that is during that summer, the big crunch. School is done, so they may start another project. One of the other reasons that it's the best time. And with tip-ups, they can work during the winter.
So is the question at hand approving this timeline? What does that mean? Is that approving the project, or is it just approving to move forward with these next steps? When is the decision on how the funding is going to be taken, and then?
I think in my mind, it's just approving them to kind of keep moving forward. It's either, we have a process that we have to take steps toward, and this is just one baby step toward that, toward the next step.
Because I still want to make sure that I'd like more conversations with Ellers about the financing part of it and how that impact and the different things that he had talked about in that last meeting about with our other bonds expiring and how we would budget for that,
Yeah, I think
that- Go ahead, Maggie.
I was just going to say, I think there would definitely be a lot more workshops that would have to take place that would go over these items, especially financing, finalizing what the actual design of the building will look like, and
I think they're excited to start talking to the public and holding these open houses, but we can't really do that until we can move forward. Part of educating the public is giving them the timeline, telling them what to expect next, what we do next, what our steps are.
And I think we can approve this tentative timeline.
I don't think it
we
holds us to
I
anything.
don't think we can get hard set on these are the dates. I mean,
No.
some of them seem aggressive. Some of the stuff in March, the open houses in March, seem too soon to me.
Why is
to
that?
Get
Why?
the information together. The information should come to council so we can approve the message it's being told, so we're all aligned on the message, on some of that. So it's aggressive. Are we ready for it? Do we have a marketing team in place? Do we have, and I know me and Andy have talked a little bit about the committee. Do we have the right people on this committee who can really help with this and their skill sets and, going out to the public and finding someone with maybe a marketing background who can help, or a finance background who can help, or a design background, or those kinds of things. And really getting out there in the public and getting some people to help with this entire process. But I don't have a problem with the timeline, a draft timeline, and competitive, and that's going to be fluid and changing, but
I think they were under the impression that they wanted the public informational meetings, like council wanted them to be pretty quick. I think that they're relying on the architect to do those kinds of more professional types of drawings and boards, and that's another piece of the puzzle. Like, we need a contract with him so that we can move forward, so that we can get plans, so we can go to planning commission, and just kind of keep moving forward there. So they're relying on the professional there.
yes.
We looked into marketing. One of them was like $5,000, and that was for a video and a voiceover. And the committee thought that was too much money to spend on that type of a thing. And I don't think that's exactly what I had in mind. I wanted more of the picture boards with a question and an answer kind of a thing, and our statistics and things like that.
That seems to make sense to me also, but like I said, there's residents out there who have
Yeah,
these backgrounds.
that'd be
who,
great.
I just don't think we got the message out there. I think we threw this committee together pretty quick, grabbed some friends, let's get on this and get going, and we really didn't get out there to the entire community. It's, these are kind of the skill sets we're looking for that could really help with this entire, from all those different aspects of things on what their skill sets are, but.
You can always add committee members,
where
but
are
it's a
we-
good idea.
Where are we on some of the money on a contract with Brunton, or what monies have we spent or authorized? I don't think any
Yeah.
money's come to council
no,
yet.
nothing's come.
We owe
It's-
money. Are we going to get back billed on things?
Um,
I did see some emails from Brunton about a contract and about some invoicing.
Yep. So the contract is, there would be a contract, and again, we're kind of trying to, if we do a contract, trying to figure out what the timeline's going to be. We would be retroactively owing some invoices, but he is wanting more of a formal contract. But to me, it didn't really make sense to do a contract yet unless we are actually moving forward with a timeline.
And his charges also are built into that list of charges that was in the packet.
Right.
That's what I'm understanding.
What would we be invoiced for? What work has been done that we've authorized to have done?
It would just be attending some of the fire committee meetings and some of the work he's put into that.
Did we know that was going to happen?
Built into that price. That's
So
the way I understood it.
Yeah, the contract that he is putting together for us, we haven't been billed anything. Yes, I did authorize him to come to some of these meetings to help get it going. But I didn't want to sign a contract that was long-term unless we were actually moving forward with this project. So I wanted to see, I wanted to get some of this stuff moving. I did invite him, I have invited him to be part of the committee at some of the meetings to get us going, but I didn't think it made sense to actually bring the contract until we were serious about moving forward long-term with this
Are
project.
we going to owe this money if we decide to not build a fire station?
We will owe, yes, some of the money.
Where are we into this? How far?
I don't know what it is yet.
Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars?
No, it's not that much. I would say it's more in the maybe a couple thousand. But I did talk to, this was a discussion I had with the fire department too, where that this would be something that would, if it does go on long term, it would be built into the actual cost of the planning for this fire station. So it would get incorporated into the financing of the actual building.
Okay.
I think that's something we need to start moving forward on, is getting this contract out here and start looking at some of that aspect of things too, if we're gonna continue to use. That's something, we shouldn't really be doing business with them without a contract in place, I would think.
And that's coming in 2 weeks.
Yep. So it's currently, the contract is being reviewed by the city attorney right now.
Jerry, you have something you want to add?
I was at the last committee meeting, I was out of town. To look at the timeline, looks to me as though it's supposed to start tonight with council vote, so I guess that's where, because if you're still pushing this out to a referendum, you're looking at exponentially higher costs.
What are we voting on? It doesn't say. It just says it
To
counts.
approve the timeline.
It says council vote to move forward with the project.
So you're saying it's to actually approve the project tonight? Okay.
That's why I read the timeline. I was at the meeting, but that's why I read the timeline.
I don't think that's the intent of this committee. I don't know. I could have missed something at the meeting, but
I think to me, it's more so, is this a
just
tentative
inform
plan?
council
Right.
and get the okay to keep working toward the goal.
I think also on a side note, some of these we gotta start deciding on these work session items or these council, what's the appropriate meeting for some of these things. And some of these, I think, are more work session. Although we can't vote on something, we can still give direction to continue to move forward. Just so we have the appropriate back and forth and the appropriate meeting and versus a council meeting here is for council to make a decision. We don't know what we're making a decision on. It's not a public hearing. This isn't a back and forth conversation. This is now council gets the information. We're supposed to vote on something versus a work session where we can have some of that conversations back and forth. So I just want to make sure we have the right meetings for some of these so we can remain productive and continue to move forward.
Well, and we can't vote on something we don't know what the cost is.
Well, right, yeah.
So, I never came into this meeting thinking I was saying 100% yes, we're building a fire station. I think it's just moving forward on this timeline so that the committee can move forward, because we can't really vote on anything until we get the bids. That when the bids come in, that's when.
And I think a big part of that is getting that contract done, completed, and allowing the contractor to put together some plans to then bring it to Planning Commission eventually.
And they also thought that the contract was going to be done and ready by now, and it's not. So that was the other kind of piece of this puzzle, but it's just.
Yeah, so I would say it's more so moving towards getting that contract set and allowing us to then work with the contractor to work on the building plans, finalizing those plans, and bringing them eventually to Planning Commission, bringing them to council, just continuing that process.
Yeah, I think it's a proposed timeline. It looks, I think it can be tweaked some. I do think we need some more time for the open houses. I would like to suggest possibly some other avenues to get the message out versus just open houses. people who can't make it, who don't show up? Or is there a Facebook page we can do? Is there, what kind of social media message can we get out, or different ways to get messages out to the population versus just 2 open houses, but, you know, a little deeper dive into
I
some of
suppose we
that
could have
stuff.
put in there that we're sending the flyer out and when that's going to go out, and I don't think we thought about that, but. And
But I
then,
do
of
want to make
course,
sure that
social
message,
media.
that we have a clear message that we're
Yeah.
all in agreement with on what message is being told, you know, to the public.
So you're
the
saying
city's
before they
behalf.
do anything, before they have open houses, you want council to look at the materials and approve them?
I think we should at least see what the message is and what's being told. I mean,
Okay, that makes
I
sense?
mean, I would say the majority of what's being told is everything that has been presented to you guys already. Those are kind of the facts and the issues that we have as a station and why we need a station. And you guys have been given those items. So us as a committee are, we see that time is of the essence. We're trying to, you know, as money, as money goes, the longer it waits, the more expensive it's going to get.
And the more risk we have of being fined,
And I think
having
we're aware
something
of that. I
happen,
think we're aware of
all
that,
of
but
that
we
other
got to take the proper steps to make sure we do this right.
That's
and
what
make
we're
sure we get it
asking
out to
for.
the public and make sure we do it. And if it means that it goes on, that's just the way it is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it could be, cost could be a little bit more if it delays, but we won't be making any payments for this year also. So we're saving that money, you know, from that aspect too. So it's 6 and 1/2 dozen another, but we have to make sure we do it properly get the message out there and not ram through this so fast that we're feeling pressure, you know, from that aspect. And not to say this, it maybe isn't even the right timeline. I'm not saying I disagree with that end timeline. I think maybe we're front loaded a little fast on some of the stuff, but when I look at the end date and getting going, I don't think I'm too far off. You know what I mean, from that October in those dates. So it's just a lot to get done, a lot to go through, but we got to do it the right way and make sure. But
I guess question to Nikki's deal is where she said, you know, we won't approve it until after the bids, but we do realize that $260,000 is going to be paid to them for going that far.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, like,
60,000?
That's what's,
To get the plan.
in the budget, you can see if we can get the plans and whatever the architectural fees are.
No, well,
throughout the life of the project,
that's what the life.
to completion,
Right, exactly.
not
but
just
I'm just
for the
saying, like, we
plans.
can't vote today and say we're approving a fire station. Like, that's just not how.
Yeah, I think it's
get
more.
me wrong.
No,
like,
no, I think it's more. Yes, doing the timeline. They can't approve the bids because we don't know what it is yet, but we need to create the documentation in order to even send it out for bid. So I think that's kind of what we're moving towards.
I mean, the only big project I have experience on was the park board, and we did the bids for the
Western.
the shelter. And we went through, and I think we ended up paying the engineering fees, but ended up backing out of the project because they came way over budget, like $100,000, and we just couldn't justify doing it. So yes, we did end up having to pay the engineering fees to get to that point, but I was just trying to say, like, I agree with this time frame. I agree with the open houses, like, I like it's a Wednesday and a Saturday, right? That you kind of did that to try to get 2 different groups of people. I don't necessarily think it's too fast. I mean, maybe you do one open house to kind of just start getting that information out there, and then you do a second one a little bit farther into the project. I mean, like a little farther down in the timeline once we have a little more things finalized. But, I mean, are we still doing like that brochure that we saw, that trifold?
That would be kind of the brochure we'd send out to, you know, first of all, inform them about, you know, what we're looking for in some sort, and then informing them of the open houses, you know, when they are, and stuff like that. So it's informing them kind of in 2 ways of what is going on, what we're looking to try and do, you know, and then plus of when the open houses would be. And I think we
along the way, we can always add open houses, have some in the spring or whatever. I don't know, I guess you got to start somewhere,
Right.
but,
But I think, yeah, the sooner we can kind of hold them to inform the public and stuff like that, to, if that's what's needed to give you guys a better idea of where the public stands on it, that's why we're trying to do it sooner than later. And I mean, I believe we have the information, that we want to put forward.
yeah, I think the committee thought they were pretty well ready, with the exception of, I think, the architect getting some decent board drawing or pictures or whatever, so that we can put up some easels and.
And from a finance standpoint, we think we have fairly good numbers to tell,
We needed,
based on what the project's gonna cost, based on how we're gonna finance it, based on what the tax impact is to homeowners. We're dialed in real close on that. I mean,
I think it's dialed in very well, and I think Bob has put it, I think right now the stars are aligned. We know the need for the station. The numbers came back, I think, a lot better than all of us expected, the pricing of it. And I think it's just something that it would be foolish at this point to not go ahead with. And this is going to set the city, the fire department up for a long period of time. Anything else, it's just going to, that cost is going to be rising up. I think right now we're at the best case scenario for this.
I mean, I'd like to see Ellers come in sooner than later, again, with more detailed options. Like, here's our finance options. Here's what we are recommending would be the best, most probably is the bond.
so one of the things we want to do is set up one of the boards with that plain, simple kind of
Yep.
accounting language, and show them the finances like right there on the board.
And I want to make sure the committee members are full aware, because you're going to be on the front lines and be answering a lot of those questions that people have, and I will be, there as a council person if people come at different times so I can speak to it. That's kind of what I did with the school referendum, is I made sure I had talking points, and that vote yes committee gave me all the tax implications so that I could talk to why I support it or why I didn't support it. So
Yeah,
I think
and
it's,
I do have a meeting with Ellers this week to go over it a little bit more, but I think that does make sense to, one, bring him in to talk to the committee, but then also bring him back to the council.
well, I mean, you can have it during a work session, and right, and do it all. Hopefully, the committee members. I know it's a lot of time out of your personal time to come to these meetings, and we appreciate it. Well, I appreciate that you come and take the time to do it, but I'd like to see it, and I'd like to have that information before we even do our first open house, because that's the first question.
We have like 5 weeks. How many weeks before that first open house?
We have two council
March
meetings.
11th. No, yeah, March 11th.
Yeah, I
It's like
think
a month, 4 weeks.
I just want to
we
make
have
sure
time.
that you guys have the talking points too. So you're not only showing the space and why, but here is, because that's another selling point, to show that it's really not, if it's only $100 a year, maybe somebody's a little bit more apt to saying yes. Or being on board with the conversation.
all right, so is there anything more now you guys need?
As a committee member, the plan was to get the approval for this timeline tonight. That was our initial plan. And we have to move something a month forward or backwards or a bunch of middle, together in the middle. That's fine. We need your approval. I guess, you said you'd like to see a referendum. Is that still your thoughts? Can you be honest with us on that? Is that still your thoughts? You'd like to see a referendum?
Be honest, as I've always been. At this point, I don't. After rethinking through it, after talking with some people and talking with Andy Rod, I'm not as hung up on a referendum anymore. From a public building, I think there should be one, but from a public safety, I don't think it's as important to have a referendum. If we were going to build a community center, I think we should. If we're building a swimming pool, I think we should. But from a public safety standpoint, although it's a public building, I've backed off on a referendum.
Okay, thank you. I agree what you just said about public safety. And then the other thing, I understand you guys are nervous of making this decision. I would be too. But any
Not
real
nervous.
estate transaction,
Neither am I.
quite a
Not
few,
nervous
I
one
think
bit.
there's some outs. So I mean, you have some outs here. The first one would be the first open house. Say the fire chief from Cologne comes and looks at the new building design and says, "Hey, this is not good. This isn't going to work." I mean, you can say stop right there. Or second open house, if somebody says, "No, Milford dumped all his oil on that land, that isn't going to work." You have an out, and if something does come up. You have another out March 25th, updated estimated cost. If you don't like it, you can say no. I'm sorry, Tyson. I was just giving some examples. Crazy things come up. I mean,
That was not discussed at our meetings.
To verify the budget and refine the cost estimate of May 6th. If you don't like that, you have an out. September 2nd, you receive the final bids. I mean, there's plenty of outs. And, I mean, like I said, I understand you being nervous, but there's a lot of things that could put on the stop sign. But the committee would like to move forward as close as they can with this timeline. And we would need your approval.
So, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, we do have out, but I'm not gonna, as far as voting on a time, I'll give my support to the proposed timeline, but I'm not gonna vote on this is what it is right now. I mean, I think we continue to move forward, but we need to see that contract. We need to see what money's being spent now, and we gotta see where we're at from that aspect of things too, just from a fiscal responsibility standpoint. But like I said, some of these dates may switch some. I think when we get to the overall and we scroll down to the, mid-September, October construction beginning, yeah, I'm aligned with that. But there's a lot in between how things are going to fluctuate, but I think we need to continue to move forward. And I'll open it up. If someone wants to make a motion to approve this timeline, it's on our agenda, and they're certainly, if someone wants to do it, they certainly could.
Maggie, do we need to have a vote on this? I mean, we're just continuing down the path that's already been talked about and discussed.
I think it's just more of a, I don't know if you need to vote on it. I think it's more, yes, if you guys are okay with moving ahead with this, staff will take the steps, and the committee will take the steps to move forward with getting the message out, or working together on the message, and then also getting that contract to you. I do need some direction, like a consensus to kind of move forward with this timeline. Again, bringing that contract to you makes sense at the next meeting, but to have that overall support would be great.
There you go. I think everybody
so, too.
supports that, to continue down the path, make it so it works, get good information out there.
recommend Work sessions for these sorts of meetings, so we can have, again, keeping to what the spirit of the meeting's for, so what we can have discussion. Go ahead, Bob. Pardon?
Why don't you just vote on it, make it official?
I don't think we need to.
There's nothing to vote on.
Yeah, I don't know what we're voting on. I mean,
There was a contract that you didn't vote on already that maybe should have been.
say that again?
Contract that this guy's been, the architect.
Yeah, but I haven't brought it to them, and I have talked with the architect on why. And the reason is that we needed to have more discussions I felt that we needed to have more discussions with the council on this project overall, and to get support for an actual timeline, I think makes sense for a long-term contract. And I have talked to the architect, and I feel like we're on the same page as, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, working with the architect now, within the last few months, that is something that I have incorporated into the committee or have approved to incorporate in the committee, but I received the contract maybe a month or so ago, and it is being reviewed, but I also did not feel that we had a full commitment to this department or this project yet, and so I didn't think like a long-term contract made sense yet. And so maybe that was a failure on my part, but I think we need to be strategic, and I think we need to make sure that everything's aligning correctly before, we do sign a long-term contract with this architect. I mean, if we don't have the approval of the council to do the design work or anything, it doesn't make sense to keep moving forward, is my understand or the way I'm interpreting it. But and again, it was supposed to come to tonight's meeting. It wasn't ready. There's a little back and forth still going on with the attorney and the architect. So it would have been ideal if it would have been on tonight, but things happen, and we unfortunately have to delay it a little bit.
As far as approval from Corey, the architect, that's basically going to be wrapped up in the building project. I mean, that's part of the building project, right?
Yeah. So the contract would essentially be retroactive.
All right, anything more on that? Any other comments?
No, I just thank you guys for taking the time and putting your energy into this project. So I'm excited to see where this is moving to. And
So would it be fair to say next meeting, when you do have the contract, or after the attorney looking at the contract, that it would be fair to say that you would look at signing that contract or at least voting on that contract and voting on moving forward with the station and the timeline that would be suggested?
Well, I think that at the next meeting, that's kind of part of the timeline, getting that contract in front of them.
But we have to have the
And
contract
reviewed.
before
Right.
the Friday before the meeting, that's for sure. I mean, like as soon as he's done with it, you should forward it on and not wait until our packet.
Oh,
Because to me, that's not enough time. Like the weekend is just never enough time to look at something that important, so.
I mean, I think we're making the right steps. And I mean, we can't say vote on a yes, we're doing the project all the way through until we go through all these steps. So I've like, this is just step one, and I think we're definitely in a good time frame so far. I mean, if we follow this, and even if things move a little bit, I think we can still meet that time frame that our goal is. But I mean, if the project comes in at $10 million, I mean, I highly doubt I would be able to vote yes for it. But I'm just saying, like, we have an idea, and I don't think you can just vote until you have even bids on it to even it be final,
Right,
like
there's-
stamped, sealed, and delivered.
there's a lot of voting that will
Yeah.
take place along the way. So it's kind of like
One vote
you
at a
can't make a
Yep.
full vote tonight. It has to happen in steps.
But yeah, I would really like to have Ellers in, and then invite the committee that would want to be able to speak to the financing, to just focus on that at like the next work session. And I know we have one this meeting, but even if we put one on the next meeting, we can come on the 24th to just really go through those options. I would feel a lot better just seeing all those other options that we have, so that we can start thinking about how are we going to pay for this, and have at least a good idea of how we would pay for this if it gets approved to have at the open houses. That's what I would like to see.
All right, any other comments? Eric, anything else?
I probably want to be cognizant of spring break coming up in March. If you're starting to have votes that are going to be during that period, I would hopefully like to see a full council here for that. So when you're looking at your schedule, I would make sure that we're thinking about those.
Agreed.
We should look at that.
All right, let's move on then, Maggie, to 6-2A. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so we do have Ryan Cotta here with Bolton and Mink to go over this as well if you have any questions. And tonight we're just looking for approval for the application to Public Facilities Authority for the 2020 water projects. So a little background, in October, the City Council of 2019, the City Council approved moving forward with the 2020 water projects. We haven't approved the bid costs yet, but this is kind of the next step to put in the application and see, then get the kind of what the amount will be.
Yeah, it's just they require a resolution just to submit the application for the loan. And the loan just covers the improvements to the water treatment plant and the well.
Okay, so just 2/3 of the project.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have an estimate in the application. I think it's like $905,000, but it gets updated with as-bid costs during closing.
Yep. So that will be for the two projects, and then I'm going to be working with Ellers on the water tower. We do have the option possibly of paying with cash, so that will be coming to you. Otherwise, we then would also look into a bond as well as another option. But this is just for the.
Ellers probably would answer it more, but when I talked about these other projects last time, if you bond it, it's not coming from taxpayer dollars. The bond payment would come from the usage.
Usage, yep. So this is enterprise funds. So even the PFA loans that we would be getting would be paid for by our user fees revenue, and that would be. So then, yes, if we did do the water tower with a bond, we would be paying with user fees over time. Otherwise, we do have the option, I believe, according to the analysis we've done, to pay with cash. So then you won't have to pay the interest over time. So that's something that will come back to you. Where was I going? But yes, so this is just for those two projects that we would qualify for PFA loans for. Yes, to submit the application. And there is a resolution in your packet.
Questions? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve Resolution 2-10-20-11, the resolution of the application to Public Facilities Authority.
Make that motion.
Sorry.
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Just my question about financing and money. When you bring this back, can we bring the rate study too that we did and how we accounted for and what, on why there's a good chance we could pay with cash because of the rate increases we've done because we were anticipating these?
Yep, so these projects were incorporated in that study. So that's kind of when we do increase our increases, we do kind of look at that study based on the projects that we have for the future. And so we have the study does include these projects in it. But yes, I will bring those.
I would just like to see we did increase it and look at it. It has helped so that we can fund some of these bigger projects. And that was the point of, because we were in such a negative with water for so long and never made changes. I would like to just see so that I would understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep, I can definitely.
If I don't say it now, I'll forget.
Oh, yeah. All right, council reports. Nikki, anything to report on?
No, tomorrow we have our open house for the new playground equipment that we're looking at. So spread the word, and hopefully we can get some residents. I'm going to send some Facebook messages to people that I know that live
good.
there.
All right, Tice.
No, mine was just a fire department
All
meeting.
right, Eric. And I was at the fire department meeting last Monday. They went over the presentation, was a big part of the meeting the PowerPoint presentation for the fire station that they went over with us, and they showed all the firefighters. Otherwise, nothing else to report on. With that, I'll look for motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Post same sign. We are adjourned. Motion carries 4-0. Thanks, Bob.